Good afternoon. In my second part of the review of local politics in the region, I looked at North Cariboo. Now this will be a look at Central Cariboo, so that'll be Williams Lake area in terms of politics. Williams Lake Council met on this past Tuesday to review various things and give approval thereof. Two of the more newsworthy items were approval for the 2011 budget and the 2015 financial plan. Council gave approval to both, and I'll review both individually. With respect to the 2011 budget, as I say, it was approved by a 6-1 vote. Councillor Rather did vote no. Just a reminder that Councillor Rather voted no to the 2009 and 2010 budgets. I must say, having reviewed the videotape from the last council meeting, I was somewhat disappointed by some members of this council's conduct, including Councillor Zacharias and Mayor Cook, and to a lesser extent Councillor Barr. This is backed up by a comment I received earlier this week who suggested that Mayor Cook and Councillor Zacharias were acting more like bullies rather than civic leaders and responsible adults. With respect to Councillor Barr, I think most taxpayers in the state should find it a little bit concerning when the councillor responsible for finance is attempting to defend the budget by saying that the proposed tax rate increase of 3% minus inflation is not a big deal. Well, with respect, that's a problem when you're just struggling to pay your bills and mortgage, and the state comes along and increase your costs. So I would suggest that defending of the budget on its merit rather than trying to justify it in front of taxpayers is the more appropriate way to go. Don't use language like, oh, don't go out as often, or have a couple cups of coffee out less. It's poking taxpayers in the eye, and that's kind of language we don't need as politicians to talk to our residents about. With respect to Councillor Rather in his comments voting no to this budget, as he points out rightfully, it's 3%. It is roughly 1% tax increase for every $100,000 that council wishes to spend. And although there are some things that councils mandatorily have to spend, including union wage increase, which is by contract, so we have to honor that. The RCB costs are mandatory as well; those have to be honored. But as Councillor points out, there are two projects that council did not have to proceed with this year if it wanted to make that choice. The first one is council's proposing to have a tree farm up at the Williams Lake Regional Airport. That project's worth roughly $100,000. The second project that council could defer was taking $200,000 out of the general surplus fund, or the city's rainy day account, and put that aside for future years for a paving plan program, which right now $200,000 would have to build up for 2 or 3 years before that would be the case, before we could pave anything. So there's your $300,000 right there. In addition, he said, if we hadn't wasted $500,000 on the fire hall, we wouldn't have to tax this year plus a good majority of last year. That caused Mayor Cook and Councillor Zacharias to come after Councillor Rather for some of his previous decisions relating to the budget. Mayor Cook pointed out that Councillor Rather went along with those budgets, but Councillor Rather fired back, saying, I told you guys I'll go along with it as long as you could justify a 2% tax increase to me. Councillor Zacharias took it a step further and suggested that Councillor Rather was electioneering rather than making tough choices. Councillor Zacharias also quoted as saying in the Tribune this week that it is irresponsible to have 0% tax increase regardless if it's just on a year-to-year basis or over a term of local government. I would suggest to her that it's pretty easy for her to make that comment. Let's remember, Council Zacharias doesn't live in the city. Residential property owners pay the lion's share of the bill at 37% at current rates. If we want to talk electioneering, I think people need to remember she is the queen of that, in addition to her good friend the mayor. Let's remember, Council Zacharias said back in December of 2010 that Carrie Cook is a great mayor and that she should be re-elected. And that was topped only by Mayor Cook, who back in June of 2010 said, I want a second term, when asked. Mayor Cook should have done the appropriate thing at that point and said, I'm here to govern the city. I have a mandate from the voters to govern to the end of 2011, and I will address the question of re-election at the appropriate point. I think it's easy for Council Zacharias to talk about irresponsibility and pie in the sky budgeting when we talk about an individual who basically can write off business taxes if they go up. Residents can't do that. As I say, when you don't reside in the city, you don't have no direct connection to the city. I think it's a pretty easy cheap shot to fire that at councillors who reside in the city. I know this is a touchy subject for some who have already posted my blog. Well before I was able to say anything, that was a personal attack, totally uncalled for, and Mayor Cook should be defeated. And I would just say to people, well, you get your wish come November, because it's starting to more look like a two-horse race for the mayor's office. Unless things really change in a drastic way, it's starting to look seriously at looking like a Carrie Cook versus Scott Nelson race. So we'll see how that goes. On the secondary suites, again, that was pushed through by, again, a 6-1 vote. Councillor Rather said that can't support 20% because it's not addressing the equity or fairness issue. And I must say, I found it curious. Mayor Cook talked about trying to do the right thing on the subject. I think if we are going to talk about areas here, instead of pitting what's called R1 homes or single-family homes with or without secondary suites, you make all people equal by putting one unit in a home. And this is a matter of political will. All council has to do is find the budget and just say this is a priority. But council has not done that. I think their priority, in addition, priority budget-wise, is the Station House Gallery. So again, we'll see where that goes. At this point, the changes to the zoning bylaw are going through the city's usual process, which means council has given first reading to this bylaw, and it will go to the city's advisory planning committee for a recommendation for second reading on April 12th, and that will be back before council on April 19th. The public hearing for this particular topic will be May 3rd. That's Tuesday, May 3rd, in council chambers at 7 p.m. So if you have concerns about secondary suites, the 20% utility charges, or anything else related to this topic, come and let your council know how you feel. Looking forward, next week there is committee of the whole for Williamsburg Council, and then there's the public budget meeting. Committee of the whole meeting should take place about 6:15. Staff are suggesting, they're not sure yet because there's an in-camera meeting at 6 p.m. on Tuesday. One of the things, and I've already noted this in my blog, there is upcoming possible changes to the city's transit fares. Just to give you an example, council is recommending that the adult fare go from $1 to $1.25, and that the monthly pass for adults go from $24 a month to $28 a month. So stay tuned for that. The other issue, obviously, is the budget meeting on Wednesday, and I encourage everybody who still have concerns about the budget and the property tax rates to implement the 2011 city budget, come out to council chambers Wednesday, April 13th at 7 p.m. and let your elected officials and staff know how you feel. Finally, a bit of sad news. I'm sure everybody knows that Tribune noted passing of Ivy Stango, who was a Tribune columnist for a time. Our column Looking Back was one that I thoroughly enjoyed, and not the only one. I know that former Regional District Area B Director Andy Motherwell has a similar column up in Pinell, and I enjoyed both. I also extend my personal condolences to the Stango family. We've lost a wonderful person and a wonderful historian in this region. It's been noted that a celebration of life will be held sometime in May, and details will be announced at a future point. Anyhow, that's my report on Central Cariboo political matters, and as I say, enjoy the rest of your Saturday and rest of the weekend, and we'll see you later.